Making the headlines tonight. The Prime Minister of Malaysia meets with Prime Minister Hun Sen for a meeting on bilateral relations during the Malaysian Prime Minister's official 2-day state visit to Cambodia. Prime Minister Hun Sen and First Lady Bun Rani Hun Sen celebrate the 43rd anniversary of their reunion after being separated during the war. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that the Minsk peace agreement on Ukraine no longer exists. The U.S. women's national soccer team and U.S. soccer agreed to resolve equal pay claims pending since 2019. And scientists on Scotland's Isle of Skye discover the skeleton of a pterosaur, which provides evidence that these remarkable flying reptiles got big tens of millions of years earlier than previously known. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Darshana Gauchan. The Prime Minister of Malaysia met with Prime Minister Hun Sen on Thursday morning to hold a meeting to discuss bilateral relations and other fields of common interest. During the meeting, the two prime ministers pledged their commitment to strengthening cooperation in the fields of human resource development, employment, digital economy, and green economy in order to achieve long-term welfare growth and sustainable development for the benefit of both countries. EAC News reporter Deka Nin has more.
At the meeting between the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dato Sri Ismail Sabri bin Yaakob, and Prime Minister Hun Sen on Thursday morning, the two leaders agreed to further promote bilateral trade, investment, health, tourism, science and technology, and people-to-people contacts in order to promote economic recovery after the COVID-19 crisis. To achieve this, the two prime ministers agreed to explore the possibility of establishing a partnership and sisterhood between Sihanouk Wheel and Siem Reap with other cities in Malaysia as well. The two prime ministers further encouraged businesses and investors to seek more business and investment opportunities in both countries, with agreements on avoiding double taxation and preventing tax evasion related to income tax between the two countries, which came into force on January 1st, 2021. And the new Cambodian investment law, which will provide an open, transparent, and predictable legal framework that is more efficient for investment. The Malaysian side also expressed interest in seeking business cooperation in the fields of information and communication technology, financial technology, and cybersecurity in Cambodia. The two sides also prioritized the strengthening of small and medium enterprises and startups and recalled the agreement between MRANTI, formerly known as Magic Malaysia, and Impact Hub Phnom Penh, to promote business startups and ventures of young entrepreneurs in both countries. In addition, the two sides also highlighted the mutual positive economic growth in 2021, with Malaysia recording a growth of 3.5% and Cambodia 3%. Both countries are also projected to have even better growth in 2022. Deka Nin, EAC News.
On the occasion of the 43rd anniversary of the reunion between Prime Minister Hun Sen and his wife, First Lady Bun Rani Hun Sen, the Prime Minister shared some unknown details behind their reunion in a message he posted on his Facebook page. The Prime Minister recalled the painful story of the difficult history he shared with his wife. He wrote saying, "On the evening of 24th February 1979, I was reunited with my wife and children after our separation on 20th June 1977, at a time when my wife was 5 months pregnant. The reunion was happy because we were still alive and able to meet each other again. For me, I was even happier to know that I had a son and that I had become his father. Unfortunately for me, my son refused to call me father, and even more difficult, he refused to let me get close to his mother. Manait had just weaned a few weeks before coming to see me. Rani told me that on the afternoon on the day of the Niak Lung ferry crossing on the way to Phnom Penh, Manait saw people selling bread. He was so hungry and he wanted to eat it, but my wife, Sinat, my younger sister, and other two friends who drove them on a bike to Phnom Penh had no money or anything to buy this bread. Manait, this poor baby, just swallowed his saliva and looked at his mother, who was in tears feeling sorry for him. After dinner, I heard about the bread story and gave around 10 candies I had to my son. Manat accepted it, but then threw it away because he did not know what candy was. I took the candy out of its cover and gave it to Manat, but he pushed my hand away. Only when I ate the candy, Manat then realized that it was something you could eat. Manette ate the candy without removing its plastic cover, then my wife removed it for him, but she only let him eat 2 candies because she was afraid that he would get sick. This is the story of the children of the Pol Pot regime who never got food or toys. Prime Minister Hun Sen further described how his son, Hun Manet, continued to call him uncle for more than a month before finally learning to call him his father. He described this story by writing, "At around 9 p.m. on 24th February 1979, my wife let Manet sleep on her arm on the bed, which was a habit he had from before. After a while, I went to bed with my wife, and suddenly Manet cried and chased me away. When I got out of bed, Manet stopped crying. I had to sit and wait for Manet to fall asleep before daring to get in the bed. I kept doing this for about 3 weeks. One day, I tried to joke around with my wife by ignoring Manet and hiding under a blanket with her. After that, we could not hear Manet crying or any other sounds from him. When we could not hear any sounds, we removed the blanket and saw that the child had disappeared. We opened the door to look for him outside the room, but we could not find him. But then we found him lying under the bed with an unhappy face. The next day, we tried to play with him again. This time, Manet did not cry, did not run away, but climbed on his parents' back on top of the blanket. From then on, Manet started calling me Dad." Prime Minister Hun Sen expressed that he hopes this incident will be able to be made into a scene in the movie Sun Under the Full Moon, which is currently being filmed and in production. He stated, "My wife and I have raised 5 children, and we have never had a nanny. Everything we've done ourselves for our children. Because the story of the Sun Under the Full Moon is being filmed, I hope this anecdote can be made into some scenes as well." Cambodian Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn expressed great regret over the geopolitical rivalry between the United States and China in the South China Sea, which he said has affected countries in the region, including Cambodia. EAC News reporter Robin Lim has more details.
Addressing the Ministerial Forum for the Indo-Pacific Cooperation in Paris, France on Tuesday, 22 February, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn said that the South China Sea is indeed an area that is a mix of both great importance and interest, which is clearly dangerous. He added that the countries that should be involved are the countries that are in dispute with China over sovereignty in this part of the sea, despite the legal and historical arguments raised for their claims. Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn added that although Cambodia has not had any disputes over the sea, the United States has dragged Cambodia into the issue. In a statement issued on the night of Wednesday, 23 February, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs quoted Prak Sokhonn saying, "Because of everything China does in the region, it is closely monitored and analyzed by the United States. Even the agreement between Cambodia and China on the rehabilitation and modernization of the Riem Naval Base has been at the center of allegations, placing pressure at the point of intimidation. While the base renovation work is underway, we have already been accused of giving China a monopoly on the base." He further stated at the forum in France with ministers from more than 30 European and Indo-Pacific member states that Cambodia would not allow foreign military presence on its territory and would also not send any Cambodian troops to other countries except under the auspice of the United Nations through peacekeeping missions. The foreign minister added that the Riem Naval Base is a small base surrounded by hotels and tourist sites, which has no purpose other than the protection of the sea and the sovereignty of Cambodia's territorial integrity. He said, "As a sovereign country, Cambodia has every right to choose the most effective means to protect our nation, but we will do so with the utmost respect for our constitution." In November 2021, the United States blacklisted 2 Cambodian generals, the Director General of Technical Equipment of the Ministry of Defense, Chao Pirun, and Navy Commander Thi Vinh. The U.S. enforced the Global Magnitsky Penal Code over dissatisfaction of its aid base being destroyed at the Riem Naval Base by the Cambodian side. After the sanctions were imposed, both the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Defense came out to state that the arrangement at the Riem Sea Base is only a modernization of the base, and Cambodia has always been transparent with the United States over such changes. But the U.S. still takes this opportunity as an excuse to oppress Cambodia again and again for personal gain and profit in an ongoing geopolitical competition. Robin Lim, EAC News.
On Thursday morning, the Cambodian Mine Action and Victim Assistance Authority celebrated the 23rd anniversary of the National Mine Awareness Day in Previhir Province, recognizing the importance of mine safety awareness in order to further promote education on the dangers of landmines, cluster munitions, and explosive remnants of war in all its forms. EAC News reporter Tekanin has more.
The first deputy head of the Cambodian Mine Action and the Victim Assistance Authority, Senior Minister Lee Thuc, said that this was the second time that the royal government of Cambodia has selected Previer province for the location of the official celebrations for this national day since 2016. According to data collected until now, an area of 143 square kilometers has been cleared of 29,746 anti-personnel mines, 440 anti-tank mines, and 82,360 explosive remnants of war. Additionally, 876,225 beneficiaries have received safe land to live on. Demining efforts in Cambodia are, however, not yet over, as around 288 square kilometers of land in the country is still plagued by landmines and explosive remnants of war. Senior Minister Lee Toich said that the royal government of Cambodia has clear ambitions and has set a clear vision and goal for a landmine-free Cambodia in 2025. He also thanked all donors and foreign countries who have joined the royal government of Cambodia in providing technical, material, and financial support for humanitarian mine action. He further extended his condolences for the recent loss of life of a national defense fighter and 3D mining heroes in Previer province, a great tragedy for Cambodia. Also attending the celebration of National Mine Awareness Day, the British ambassador to Cambodia, Tina Radshaw, said that she is proud that the United Kingdom continues to be a major donor and supporter of Cambodia's commitment to a mine-free country. Since 2010 until the present day, the United Kingdom has provided $24 million to Halo Trust, MAG, and NP, which support the mining activities in Cambodia, making the UK one of the largest development partners to contribute to mine action in Cambodia. She added, "By working together, I believe we can achieve a landmine-free Cambodia by 2025. In addition, the UNDP resident representative in Cambodia, Alisa Shakir, praised Cambodia's commitment to demining and the kingdom's leadership ambitions and its effort to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals for a mine-free Cambodia by 2025. She spoke at the ceremony and said, "While we are working on clearance, we must not forget the other 5 pillars of mine action. Mine risk education to reduce the risk of injury from landmines and unexploded ordnance, raising public awareness and promoting behavioral change, providing information, education, and training campaigns, and community outreach. Mine risk education reduces the risk to a level where people can still live safely and recreate an environment where economic and social development can occur freely from the barriers of landmine pollution." The CMAA previously planned to hold a ceremony to celebrate the 22nd anniversary of National Mine Awareness Day in 2021, but because of the 20th February 2021 community event and the outbreak of the COVID-19 disease, the Prime Minister postponed the ceremony. Dekanin, EAC News.
The Ministry of Health recently announced the launch of the vaccine campaign for children aged 3 to 5, beginning from Wednesday, 23rd February. EAC News visited a vaccine center to interview some parents on why they brought their children to get vaccinated and how they feel now that their children can be protected against COVID-19 as well. EAC News reporter Straipor Kong has the story.
After Prime Minister Hun Sen announced that many children have been infected with the COVID-19 Omicron variant, which continued to spread very fast within the community, he ordered the National Vaccination Commission and the Relevant Authority to coordinate the campaign for children aged 3 to 5 as soon as possible, for the safety of children and out of concern for the impact on public health. The Ministry of Health had now launched the vaccination campaign for children aged 3 to 5 on Wednesday, 23 February, in an attempt to curb the spread of Omicron and reduce the number of infection among children. Chuang Chanda, who is a mother of the twin girls, said she feels happy about the government decision to vaccinate for children.
I
brought my child to get vaccinated and be protected from COVID-19. I feel happy that the government has good intentions by allowing vaccination for kids to allow for their immune systems to be strengthened against this disease so that they can go wherever they want with more ease, especially back to school.
Mithisa also expressed his gratitude to the government.
I think this vaccination is intended to fight against COVID-19 virus and prevent the further spread of COVID-19. I feel happy that the government has thought about children's health problems in the context of COVID-19, and I am also thankful to the government for always bringing enough vaccines to fight against the spread of the new COVID-19 variant.
Utpanat is a young mother who feels very happy bringing her child to get vaccinated. I am happy to bring my child to get vaccinated. I also want my child to get protected from the COVID-19 disease. P, a grandma who is worried about a virus spreading and also warned her grandson to avoid catching the disease, expressed her relief.
Because this disease is spreading so fast, we have to get vaccinated to protect ourselves. When they launched this vaccination campaign for kids, I was so happy because it will help my kid avoid becoming affected by the disease. Thank you to the government for helping us all to get fully vaccinated.
Bunni is a father who also feels relief after bringing his child to get vaccinated.
I'm happy because after getting vaccinated, we can worry less about COVID-19 infection. Thank you to the royal government, including the Prime Minister, for providing COVID-19 vaccines for all citizens and children to prevent the further spread of the disease.
There are currently more than 700,000 children aged 3 to 5 in Cambodia. According to the report of the Ministry of National Defense and the Ministry of Health, as of 23 February, Cambodia has vaccinated 14.4 million people, which is 90.24% of the country's 60 million people. Sripokong, EAC News.
Cambodia has reported 466 new COVID-19 cases, including 16 which are imported. There have been 324 patient recoveries and 3 new deaths. The Omicron surge moves into day 20 as more deaths are reported. The kingdom recorded 450 new community and 16 new imported cases of the new variant, meaning that Cambodia has now recorded 8,158 cases of Omicron, 776 imported, and 7,382 community cases. Cambodia's COVID-19 case tally has climbed to 128,599. The death toll stands at 3,026. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 121,877, and the tally for imported cases has climbed to 20,633. Healthcare workers are currently treating a total of 3,695 patients. And now for a look at news making international headlines this Thursday, 24th February.
The Italian Coast Guard has rescued 573 migrants at sea who were trying to reach Europe aboard the fishing boats in distress in bad weather, as reported on Tuesday, February 22. One dead body was found. The rescue operation took place off the southern Italian coast. 3 Coast Guard units transferred the migrants to another vessel, which will bring them ashore at the port of Agosta in Sicily. The migrants has told the Coast Guard the body found was that of a migrant who had died several days earlier. The statement has added. The group of rescued migrants included 59 minors, many of them unaccompanied. Italy has seen an increase in boat migrants in recent months, with the government struggling to secure an agreement with European Union partners over how to deal with the influx.
Heavy rains have triggered a landslide on Monday, February 21st in the state of Traj in Bolivia, killing at least 2 people with 8 more still missing. Rescue teams and local continued to search through the mud and debris in Torreos, a southern municipality in the Adrian nation. It's not just one person, several people are missing. My neighbour is one of them, said the unidentified member of the Guru Indonesia's group. Local media have reported that at least 500 families have been directly affected by the mudslides and are desperately searching for survivors while salvaging some of their belongings. In Bolivia, the annual rainy season begins in November and runs until March.
Long queues of vehicles were sighted at various petrol stations across Sri Lanka on Monday, with the country's energy minister warning about a looming fuel shortage as foreign exchange runs short. I went to 4 petrol stations. None of them have diesels. How are we going to do our job? Said Sunia Ranjit, a tuk-tuk taxi driver. Sri Lanka is trying to arrange a payment of $35 million for a shipment of 40,000 tons of diesels, with just a few days of stocks left. Energy Minister Udaya Gamanpila has said on Monday. The minister added that even with the shipment, which had reached the port of Colombo on Sunday, February 20th, the Indian Ocean nation would only have diesel for 6 days. State-run Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, CPC, has begun to ration distribution in an effort to prepare for the crisis by issuing just about half of what is typically released to pumping stations, the minister has added. Sri Lanka power regulator on Tuesday has announced a countrywide 4 hours and 40-minute power cut due to waning diesel supplies, triggering long lines of vehicles at petrol stations ahead of the cut. The nationwide cut has taken place on Wednesday, authorities said, warning that time could double by Thursday, February 24th, if more fuel was not found. The announcements, which came as Sri Lanka cabinet met for a second consecutive day to discuss how Sri Lanka can finance its fuel imports, has sparked panic buying with long lines of vehicles waiting at petrol stations in various cities. The island nation has been facing blackouts of increasing lengths due to a foreign exchange shortage, leaving it unable to buy enough fuel to power its national grid.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said on Tuesday, February 22nd, that the Minsk peace agreement on Ukraine no longer existed, and there was nothing left to fulfill, but he blamed Kiev instead of Moscow for killing it off. He has made the comments at a news conference in Moscow on Wednesday after he formally recognized 2 separatist republics in eastern Ukraine as independent.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said the Minsk agreements were killed long before the recognition of the People's Republics of Donbas, and not by Russia, not by representatives of these republics, but by the current Kiev authorities. The Russian president has stated that within the borders will Russia recognize these republics, but they have recognized them, which means they have recognized their fundamental documents, including the Constitution. And the Constitution spells out the borders within the Donetsk and Luhansk regions when they were part of Ukraine. But Russia expects, and Putin wants to emphasize, is that all controversial issues will be resolved during the negotiations between the Kiev authorities and the leadership of the 2 republics. He has added, regarding the use of armed forces abroad, Russia has signed agreements on Tuesday, and in these agreements, both with the Donetsk People's Republic and with the Luhansk People's Republic, there are corresponding paragraphs that say Russian government will provide these republics with appropriate military assistance. Regarding the conflict there, with this decision, Russia has made it clear that if necessary, they intend to fulfill their obligations. Putin has also mentioned that the most important point is the known degree of demilitarization of today's Ukraine, since this is the only objectively controlled factor that can be observed and reacted to. Everything else flips from today to tomorrow in either direction.
Mexican armed forces have clashed with a group of mostly Cuban, Central American, Venezuelan, and Haitian migrants who were waiting for migratory documents in the southern city of Tapachula on Tuesday, February 22nd.
Migrants have said that a Mexican Migration Institute officer has appeared outside his agency's office and dropped on the floor documents that would grant them safe passage through the country. You saw our papers scattered on the ground, as if we were dogs, Cuban migrant Yanni has said. We are talking to the INM officer. He has passed through and threw the papers on the ground without explanations. Another Cuban migrant, Tony, has said that the INM officers have denied documents to around 2,000 Haitian migrants. Tension between the Mexican National Guards and migrants in Tapachula has increased because many migrants have remained in the city for several months waiting for their legal documents. Tens of thousands of migrants flee their countries each year in an attempt to reach the United States, but many of them also seek refuge and protection in Mexico. In early February, Mexico's National Human Rights Commission urged immigration authorities to speed up processes that would help nearly 2,000 migrants at the southern border to get documents to regularize their stay in Mexico or let them travel through the country without being detained.
The used tires that litter the back streets of cities and towns in Zambia might be an eyesore, but for one company, they're also an opportunity to make fuel that could slash the nation's energy import bill while cleaning up its trash. A Zambian company has started making diesel and petrol using tires and plastics, a project that could help slash the nation's $1.4 billion annual fuel import bill and clean up the environment.
The project by Zambia's Central African Renewable Energy Corporation has currently processed 1.5 tons of waste to make 600 to 700 liters of diesel and gasoline per day on a pilot basis. There's hardly enough to dent the country's mountains of rubbish or its 1.4 billion US dollars annual fuel import bill for the 140 million liters of petrol a day it consumes. But for Chief Executive Molinga, it's the start of something bigger. The gas that we are producing, the petrol and the diesel that we are producing is a much, much lower cost, or the production cost is so much lower than the normal diesel and petrol that you're getting from your filling stations, he has said, where workers loaded stacks of used tires into a furnace. The company is seeking $60 million in investment to raise daily fuel output to 400 tons of diesel, 125 tons of petrol, and 30 tons of liquefied petroleum gas, he said, at all roughly half the cost of imported fuel. Waste management is a serious challenge for Zambia, and if people are still using fuel, proponents argue it is better that it come from recycled waste. We are cleaning up the environment by taking out all the waste and we are converting it into energy, Molinga has said. Rubber is made of long chains of hydrocarbons that can be heated and broken down into something resembling crude oil, which is the case of synthetic rubber, is what they were to begin with. Several companies globally are investing in this process, which involves burning waste, rubber, and plastic in a reactor and then mixing it with a catalyst to produce diesel, gasoline, and LPG. Johnson Chikwanda of the local think tank Energy Forum Zambia has said the fuel project could drastically cut Zambia's fuel import bill, create jobs, and clean up the environment.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
តើលោកអ្នកចិត្តរៀបអាពាហ៍ពិពាហ៍មែនទេហើយពិបាករកក្រុមហ៊ុនថតវីដេអូផ្សាយផ្ទាល់ដែលមានគុណភាពមែនទេអស់កង្វល់រ៉ាទីកាជាក្រុមហ៊ុនទទួលស្គាល់លំដាប់អន្តរជាតិលើសេវាកម្មថតផ្សាយផ្ទាល់គ្រប់កម្មវិធីកម្រិត 4K ដំបូងបង្អស់នៅកម្ពុជារ៉ាទីកាប្រើប្រាស់ឧបករណ៍ទំនើបម៉ាកល្បីធានាគុណភាពការផលិតតាមបច្ចេកវិទ្យាទាន់សម័យរ៉ាទីកានឹងជួយធ្វើឲ្យកម្មវិធីលោកអ្នកកាន់តែមានភាពអស្ចារ្យលោកអ្នកនឹងបានឃើញរាល់សកម្មភាពក្នុងពិធីទៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ទំហំធំកម្រិត 4K និងការបញ្ចាំងលើផ្ទាំងក្រណាត់សព្រមទាំង LED ដែលមានរូបភាពច្បាស់ត្រជាក់ភ្នែកសូមអញ្ជើញកក់ពីឥឡូវនេះតាមរយៈលេខទូរស័ព្ទ012 823 848 017 838 889 និង016 823 848 រ៉ាហ្វីកាទំនុកចិត្តការទទួលខុសត្រូវនិងគុណភាពខ្ពស់
something, you about to see something. It's coming, we're unstoppable now. Ain't nothing gonna take us down, we're unstoppable now. Fade to black, take a bow, yeah. We're unstoppable now. Here it comes.
The U.S. women's national soccer team and the governing body, U.S. Soccer, have agreed to resolve the equal pay claims in litigation that have been pending since 2019, the two parties said on Tuesday, February 22nd.
We are pleased to announce that the contingent of the negotiation of the new collective bargaining agreement, we will resolve our long-standing dispute over equal pay and proudly stand together in the shared commitment to advance equally in soccer, US Soccer and USWNT said in a joint statement. The New York Times reported that under the terms of the agreement, players will receive $24 million and a pledge from the US Soccer to equalise pay for women's and men's national teams in all competitions, including the World Cup, in the next collective bargaining agreements. Getting to this day has not been easy. The US women's national team players achieved unprecedented success while working to achieve equal pay for themselves and future athletes, the joint statement added. Today we recognise the legacy of the past USWNT leaders who have helped to make this day possible, as well as all the women's and girls who follow. The Women's Cup winning team sued the governing body in 2019, seeking $66 million in damages under the Equal Pay Act, alleged gender discrimination in compensation, and nearly every other aspect of playing conditions. US Soccer urged the women's team had received more compensation than the men's team over the last decade. In May 2020, a United States District Court judge for the Central District of California threw out the players' claims for equal pay, but allowed their claims about playing conditions to go forward. The players reached a settlement on the conditions part of the lawsuit and had appealed against the wage decision portion.
Chelsea rediscovered some of their fluent attacking forms as they beat Lille 2-0 in the first leg of their Champions League last 16 tie on Tuesday. But the talk at Stamford Bridge was more about the striker who did not play than the ones who did.
Record-singing Romelu Lukaku sat on the beach as an unused substitute while fellow strikers Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic claimed the goals that put the reigning champions Chelsea in the driving seat to advance to the quarterfinals. On Saturday against Crystal Palace, Lukaku had the fewest touches of the ball, 7, ever recorded for a player on the pitch for at least 90 minutes in the Premier League game since such data began to be collected in full in the 2003-04 season. That unwanted record added to the questions being asked about the Belgians' role in Thomas Tuchel's side, which has often looked more dangerous this season when Lukaku was absent with injury or due to COVID-19. Lukaku scored 24 league goals and provided 11 assists for Inter Milan last season to help them clinch the Series A title, and he got off to a good start in his second spell at Stamford Bridge after his move to London in August. He scored 3 goals in his first 3 Premier League games and linked up well with fellow strikers.
Yeah, every game is different. Every game is different. The focus was today on intensity, on high-speed game, and on also hard work against the ball, off the ball, to have an intensive teamwork. And Romelu struggled in the last games a little bit to deliver that. That's what I meant when I said I felt him a bit tired. Not only mentally tired, but also physically tired, which I can understand. He played I think since the Liverpool game, and he started every match for us, and were like some extra times in it as well. And yeah, it is like this. And then today we went for three other players and Kai is in a very good shape, full of confidence, and gives a lot of work rate and in high intensive meters to the team. And that was the decision today. For Sunday we have 4 days to decide and to recover, and of course he has every chance to play. Yeah, also was not the moment after the match where everybody was focused on the few touches that he had to put him right away into the next fire. It was the moment to take a step back. That was the decision, and that's it. But you can clearly see. I mean, we have now a strong win. We had a strong performance. It was a tough match, and almost every question is about Romelu. So the focus is huge. There are like 9 other players who did not play, and we should never forget that we consider this sport a team sport, and this is it. And then the 11 guys who play do everything to commit fully to what we plan and to commit fully to their teammates, and the guys from the bench have to do the same. And this is how it works. Especially at Chelsea and especially for us, and this is how we win football games.
Tuchel told reporters after the win over Lille that he had decided Lukaku needed a break after starting in a string of games recently. The focus was today on intensity, on a high-speed game, and hard work off the ball. The German coach said Romelu struggled in the last games to deliver that. Lukaku did score 2 of Chelsea's 3 goals during the Club World Cup tournaments that the Londoners won in Abu Dhabi earlier this month, but the threat posed by Havertz through Tuesday's defeat of Lille and his hard work rate suggested the German may get the nod ahead of the Belgian when Chelsea comes out of the tunnel at Wembley on Sunday for the League Cup final against Liverpool.
Fresh off the national team's victory in the Africa Cup of Nations this month, Senegal on Tuesday inaugurated a new 50,000-seat stadium at a ceremony attended by African and European heads of state and global sporting dignitaries.
The Turkish-built Abdullah Wade Stadium in Senegal's new showpiece of Diamagos is part of the drive by President Macky Sall to develop West African countries' infrastructure. The stadium, which will host the Summer Youth Olympics in 2026, was filled with fans waving Senegal's green, yellow and red flags. Also in attendance were the presidents of Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Rwanda, Turkey and Germany, as well as Gianni Infantino, the president of the World Soccer Governing Body, FIFA, and the African soccer greats, Didier Drogba and Samuel Eto'o. It is in this beautiful den that our valiant lions will celebrate their conquest of Africa and the world, Sall told the crowd. FIFA President Gianni said, "We are proud to be able to be here with you today to inaugurate this magnificent stadium. It is the first time we are in this stadium. It's certainly not the last time. We are going to organise the best tournaments in the world here. This is the stadium made of World Cups." Senegal President Macky said, "With his kind approval, I've decided to name the stadium after my predecessor, President Abdoulaye Wade, a homage to his multidimensional career as an intellectual, Pan-Africanist politician and a former president of the Republic of Senegal." National pride is high after Senegal, led by Liverpool forward Sadio Mane, claimed their first Africa Cup of the Nations title by defeating Egypt on February the 6th in Cameroon. The stadium named after the former president, Wade, who Sall defeated in bitterly contest in 2012 election in Senegal's latest high-profile infrastructure project. A basketball arena across the street from the stadium was completed in 2018 and a $1.3 billion commuter railway was inaugurated in December. Sall's opponents, however, have questioned whether these projects will benefit average citizens as much as they do Senegal's tiny elite.
And now for a look at how the weather will be playing out tomorrow. And finally, a fossil jawbone peeking out from a limestone seashore on Scotland's Isle of Skye has led scientists to discover the skeleton of a pterosaur that showed that these remarkable flying reptiles got big tens of millions of years earlier than previously known.
Researchers have said on Tuesday, February 22, the pterosaur, named Dirksetagenach, has lived roughly 170 million years ago during the Jurassic period, soaring over lagoons in a subtropical landscape and catching fish and squid with the crisscrossing teeth perfect for snaring slippery prey. Its scientific name, pronounced as Dirksetagenach, means winged reptile in Gaelic. With a wingspan of about 8 feet, 2.5 meters, Dirk was the Jurassic's longest known pterosaur and the biggest flying creature that inhabited Earth to that point in time. Some pterosaurs during the subsequent Cretaceous period achieved much greater dimensions, as big as fighter jets, but Dirk shows that this scaling up had its origins much earlier. A forensic analyst of its bones indicated that this Dirk individual was not fully grown and could have had a 10-foot or 3-meter wingspan as an adult. Dirk had weighed very little, probably below 22 pounds or 10 kilograms, thanks to its hollow, lightweight bones and slender structure, said University of Edinburgh paleontology doctoral student Natalia Jagielska, lead author of the research published in the journal Current Biology. It had an elongated skull and long, stiff tail. An arsenal of sharp teeth formed a cage when it bit down on prey. Pterosaurs are some of the rarest vertebrates in the fossil record owing to their fragile bones, some of the walls thinner than a sheet of paper. The specimen is an anomaly because things like this don't usually happen. Pterosaurs are usually squashed because of their very delicate and very rarely get preserved, Jagielska has said. Up until when derricks have lived, pterosaurs generally have been modest in size, many about the size of a seagull. The prevailing wisdom among scientists had been that pterosaurs did not reach derrick size until the Cretaceous, some 25 million years later, with the appearance of creatures like Hohenhepterus, Philongus, and Elongdactylus quetzalcoatlus appearing about 68 million years ago, boosted a wingspan of about 36 feet like an F-16 fighter. In Dirk's time, Britain was closer to the equator and existed as a series of smaller separate islands. Dirk lived alongside a menagerie of plant-eating and meat-eating dinosaurs, early mammals, and marine reptiles. Dirk was discovered in 2017 with a fossil jutting out from a limestone interstitial zone after the tide had gone down. The research battled the tide, first using hammers and chisels and then diamond-tipped saws, but the tide interrupted before the skeleton could be fully extracted. We almost lost the fossil. We had to let it go, let the tide lap over it, and we had to worry for several hours, come back nearly at midnight to collect it, and thankfully it was still there, said study co-author Steve Broussat.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, you can check out our website, eacnews.asia, or search EAC News on Telegram or at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We will see you then.